Now, I want to give you some good news. The good news is that in 2009, seeing where this was going, the Family Action Council brought a Religious Freedom Restoration Act and passed it. And that at least gives everybody right now some degree of protection by being able to argue in the court that whatever the government is doing is violating my religious beliefs. The government has to have a compelling reason to do so, and the way it is doing it is the least offensive, most restrictive way to accomplish it. We saw what was coming, and we said, let's take a preemptive action to do what at the time seemed to be the best thing to do. So we have that. The other thing that is good news is that we have no state or local SOGI laws. Those SOGI laws stand for sexual orientation, gender identity laws in the areas of non-discrimination. All the states in which you have seen fights over florists and bakers and all that stuff have occurred in states that have a SOGI law. And in all those states where those lawsuits have occurred, only one of them has occurred in a state that has a RFRA law. And again, we have that law because when Nashville started to go after Belmont, the Lord brought a bill to mind. We got a couple of representatives and we passed it. It was until this spring the only law like it in the nation that said cities cannot put mandates on private businesses. Now, I was just in a meeting in Washington, D.C., and I asked the question as we were discussing what to do, how many states do not have either a local or a statewide SOGI law? You know how many hands went up in that room of 25 family policy councils like mine? One. See, they're all swimming really upstream. But we've been able to preempt some of that. But what I am telling you is that the onslaught is coming. I'm glad they're excited about it. What's some other good news? The good news is we do have some solid, willing to fight back legislators. I'm not sure right now we have a majority, but we have some, and God always takes some. You know, I love the story of Gideon. He just kept sending them home till he got a small enough group that he could get all the glory. So we do have some of those folks who are willing to fight, but you know what? We all get, and I've been there. I was in the state senate 12 years. I went through the income tax. I went through the Tennessee Waltz. I've seen stuff that's not good. And you can all get the Elijah complex if you're not careful. I'm alone. Nobody cares. The other side is assaulting me every day. I'm not hearing from anybody. What's the point? And you would like to think that they would be strong enough, firm enough to say, it doesn't matter, I will do what God's called me to do anyway. And if you think that and have never done that yourself, then please stand up. Where you've just thought, what's the point? What's the use? Whether it's fighting with your wife, whether it's fighting with your, well, that is one you should quit on, guys. But your teenager, whatever it is, there are times when we all say, Lord, I can't hold my hands up anymore. Now, I will tell you that as soon as some of this legislation is filed, their side will be assembled. They will tweet, they will Facebook, it will come from all over the nation and all over the globe. And I have seen legislators come to me, ask me to meet, what can I do about this bill? I'm getting 1,000 emails a day. And it's kind of like, yeah, but they're coming from Australia and England and New Mexico. And it's like, David, it's 1,000 emails. I don't have time to look through all of them. Well, I've gotten 30 that have come from your district. Well, they're lost in the thousands. Just imagine, in your church of 100, if 98 people came up to you every Sunday and raked you over the coals for your sermon, and the 2 who liked it said nothing, how many Sundays would you go before you felt like the Lord had called you to another ministry? Well, don't forget, these guys are called ministers, the diakonos of God, in Romans 13. Then the other good news is we have you. You're here. As best I can figure, that's about 70 more than the disciples. And it's already a third of what Gideon had. So we're in great shape. And then lastly, God is on his throne in Psalm 2. And there are times that I think he looks down and he snickers, just like he said. What do you think you're doing? You're imagining a really vain thing. I've disarmed you, and you don't know it. What I do need to do is make sure my people know I've disarmed you. And they respond accordingly.